Welcome in, everybody. Great new day to all my self care family and friends. Welcome to another episode of the Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I'm so thrilled to have each and every one of you here with us today. Whether you're listening from the comfort of your home, on your commute, or while you're out taking your morning walk, I'm grateful that you've carved this time out for yourself. Now, before we dive into today's episode, just a quick reminder if you are enjoying the show, don't forget to tap the screen, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us to connect with more amazing people like you. And if we're not friends already, please be sure to give us a follow, subscribe to our channel so that way you don't miss out on our latest content. I also invite you to head over to our website at theselfcareclub.org. We have some awesome affirmative apparel, motivational merch, and a bunch of free resources that are designed just for you. It's all about empowering yourself and embracing your journey. No matter what challenges you are currently facing in life, remember that you are not alone on this path. We are in this together, supporting and uplifting each other every step of the way. It is time for us to choose to prioritize our peace, to embrace our growth, and again, to find peace in the present moment. So let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Let me see some green hearts in the chat if you are ready. Thank you. Welcome in, you guys. Welcome back, little Buddha. I see you gifted. Denise, Lady Blue, Kale. We got Tipsy, Excursions. I think Aaron is in here. Trey's mom in here. Welcome, guys. So, listen, our topic of discussion for today is trauma bonding. Trauma bonding. And I know that it feels like love until it doesn't, right? It feels like love until all of a sudden it doesn't. Um, Trauma bonding is kind of gives off kind of like the illusion of love, right? And so today I thought it was important that we talk about this particular topic, and I know that this is something deep that many of us have experienced. It's something real, and it is something that has kept too many of us trapped in painful relationships for far too long. Like I said, it feels like love. It feels like passion, right? Thank you, Blue. But over time, that bond starts to shift, right? The warmth turns cold. The connection starts to feel more like a chain anchoring you down. And what once felt like love now feels like survival. But how do you know when you're caught in the cycle? How do you recognize the difference between love and a trauma bond? How do you, more importantly, break free from the trauma bond? So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So before we get started, I'm encouraging you take a deep breath, cover up your toes because I'm going to dance all over them today. Settle in, and let's get into it. Okay. We'll start with a personal story. There was a woman. Let's call her Maya. Okay. And Maya was strong, independent, and had always told herself that she'd never allow anyone to mistreat her. Okay. Let's just say Maya was the epitome of the strong black woman, right? Then she met him. We're not going to give him a name. She met him, right? And so at first, he was everything she dreamed of, everything she could dream of, right? He was charming, he was attentive, and he made her feel like she was the most special woman in the world. Every text made her heart race. Every compliment felt like sunshine on her skin. When they were together, it felt like magic. But then things started to change. One day he was affectionate and loving. The next day he was cold, he was distant. Sometimes he would disappear for hours, even days, leaving her feeling anxious, wondering what she did wrong. And just when she started to think, maybe I should walk away, he would just come back full of apologies, full of love, reminding her how amazing things used to be. And just like that, she was hooked all over again. She would tell herself, "We're just going through something. It's a hiccup in the relationship, right? We're just going through things. It's complicated." That she could just love him hard enough. She felt like if she was just patient enough, that he would finally be the person that he was in the beginning. But y'all know how this goes. He never was, right? So when we look at this situation, it's easy to recognize that Maya was stuck in a trauma bond. And like so many people, she mistook the pain for passion and the inconsistency for love. Now, I don't know about y'all, but can any of you relate to Maya? If Maya's story was your story, or you can relate to pieces of this story, then you need to hear this. What you experienced, or maybe what you are experiencing, is not love, it's a cycle. And it continues over and over again unless you choose to break it. So let's first start by digging into what is a trauma bond or what is trauma bonding, right? So trauma bonding is one of the most painful, confusing, destructive emotional cycles that a person can experience. It happens when you form an intense, unhealthy attachment to someone who continuously hurts you, manipulates you, and abuses you. And the worst part about it, it feels like love. You become emotionally addicted to someone who alternates between kindness and cruelty, making it nearly impossible for you to leave, even when you know the relationship is toxic. It happens because your brain learns to associate pain with connection, trapping you in a cycle of hope, heartbreak, and dependency. So, trauma bonding is fueled by intermittent reinforcement. And that's a psychological trick where someone gives you just enough love to keep you holding on, right? They give you just enough to keep you hooked, holding on. And so the way the cycle works is there's this idealization phase, right? The phase of the relationship where they make you feel special. Rich Risings, Candace. This is the part where they make you feel special. So at first, everything is perfect, right? They shower you with love, attention, affection. They say all the right things. They make you feel special. They make you feel good, right? They make you feel chosen, adored, and deeply connected. They might even call you their soulmate, promising a bright future together. You feel seen, you feel heard, you feel understood, and most importantly in that moment you feel safe. It's rather intoxicating. But then things shift. You shift from phase 1 into phase 2, which is the devaluation phase. This is the point where the love turns cold. So, see, they start slowly pulling away from you. They begin to criticize you, ignore you, suddenly act distant. They invalidate your feelings, making you question yourself. They might accuse you of being too sensitive, tell you you're crazy, or maybe they tell you you're too needy. This is the moment where you start to wonder, did I do something wrong? The person who once made you feel like the center of their world now makes you feel unworthy and desperate for their approval. And then we hit the next stage, which is the emotional roller coaster. See, you felt the highs, now you felt the lows. And so now you're going to ride this roller coaster, right? You start chasing their love. Hey, K Rose. You're going to you know you don't want to lose them, so you start trying harder. You start to be more, to do more. You begin over explaining yourself. You start ignoring red flags, right? You just take the blame. It was me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. You just take all the blame just to keep the peace. And then, just when it starts to feel like they're slipping away forever, you hit stage 4, which is the reconciliation stage, right? This is where they pull you back in. Suddenly, they're loving you again. They apologize. They tell you they miss you, or they promise to change. They remind you of the good times, right? Making you question if it was even really that bad. They might even break you down, telling you things like they can't live without you. The relief floods in. You start to feel loved again. You tell yourself maybe things will be different this time, but they won't, because that cycle repeats again and again and again. And each time that trauma bond gets stronger, more powerful. And trauma bonding isn't just emotional, it's actually biochemical. Your brain and its reaction to trauma bonding is just honestly insane when you think about it. Um, so we have oxytocin, right? That's the bonding hormone. And so oxytocin is released during affection, sex, and intimacy, like deep connections, making you feel attached to a person. We also have a hormone known as dopamine. Now, dopamine is like the reward chemical, right? It's released when they're sweet to you, when they're reinforcing the belief that their love is worth waiting for. And then, of course, there's cortisol, right? We know cortisol, that's stress hormone. And so, cortisol is released during the painful moments, keeping you in a constant state of anxiety, craving relief. And so these highs and lows that you experience start to rewire your brain, making the relationship feel like a drug addiction. Now, for those of you who have experienced this or who maybe are currently experiencing this, I want to tell you that you're not weak. You're not weak for staying. Your brain is just conditioned to crave them. And you're also not alone. A lot of times when we get stuck in this bond, we feel like we're alone, that nobody else will understand us. But I want to tell you that anybody can get trapped in a trauma bond. But there are certain experiences that make us more vulnerable, such as people who have childhood trauma. Blueberry, don't cry today. We got tissue, love. I promise if you stick around, I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna provide some aftercare to help you. I got you. So again, you guys, people who have childhood trauma, right? If you grew up in a home where love was inconsistent, or maybe the love that was given to you was conditional, within your household, then trauma bonding may feel familiar to you and it may feel normal. You may have learned that love equals chasing approval and enduring the pain. Empaths and people pleasers, you are definitely highly susceptible. Ooh, why I can't even say the word. It's highly likely that you're going to form trauma bonds. So if you're a person who is deeply empathic, you might believe that you can heal them or that you can fix them. You might feel responsible for saving the relationship, even at the cost of your own well being. And then those of us who have maybe a low self worth. So if you're a person who's already struggling with self doubt, a toxic person can exploit that and they can make you believe that you need them. They might convince you that no one else will ever love you the way that they do. Most commonly, those of us who are survivors of narcissistic or toxic relationships are also susceptible to trauma bonding. So if you've been in a previous relationship, um, you may have been conditioned to tolerate mistreatment. And so this cycle can feel familiar to you, so familiar that healthy love seems boring, right? A healthy relationship seems too easy. So it's important for us to understand that trauma bonding is not your fault. I want everybody to type, it's not my fault. Because a lot of times, like I said, they condition us to believe that this is what we deserve, that this is our fault, that this is what we're supposed to have. It's not our fault. It's not your fault. That's right, Danielle. It's not your fault. It's a learned response, and it's not a reflection of your worth. It is easy for us to confuse trauma bonding with love, right? Because it intensely feels the same way. It feels like something meaningful. But we understand that intensity is not love, it's often survival. Let's look at some ways that trauma bonding disguises itself as love. Okay. First, there's this meant to be illusion where you believe that no matter how much pain is involved, your connection is too deep to walk away. If it wasn't meant to be, then why would they keep coming back to me? Right? You know how we grow up thinking, okay, if you love someone, you set them free. And if they come back to you, they're yours. And if they don't, it was never meant to be. That's not the case. Because see, a person that you've trauma bonded with, they're gonna keep coming back over and over and over again. So that meant to be is just an illusion. Number two, we get stuck confusing pain with passion. The drama of the relationship makes it feel like it's a great love story, right? But real love doesn't leave you constantly anxious. In fact, real love relieves the anxiety. Number three, we get trapped believing that the good times are real to them. So we begin to focus on the version of them that treats us well, dismissing the pain because the pain is temporary. We tell ourselves things like they're not really like this. They're just struggling. They're just going through something. That's it's not the case. Number four, we start mistaking the codependency for love. We begin to feel like we need them and that life would be unbearable without them. We begin to confuse, you know, this fake love with something that's healthy. But healthy love should be a choice. not a dependency. You choose love. You're not dependent on it. And then number 5, we notice that there's an attachment over affection. You feel bonded because of the struggles that you've endured together, not because the relationship is genuinely fulfilling. So, for those of you who are wondering, oh my God, am I in a trauma bond? I'm going to give you some signs that you're in a trauma bond. So, these are the kind of signs to look out for. Do you feel addicted to the person even when they're hurting you? Are you constantly trying to prove your worth to them? Do they make you feel like everything is your fault? When they pull away, do you panic? When they come back, do you feel a sense of ease or relief? Do you justify their bad behavior and minimize your own pain? Have you tried to leave, but you always end up returning? If you've answered yes to several of these, it's time for you to really take an honest look at your relationship. And when I say relationship, I don't just mean intimate relationships, I mean your friendships with people as well. It is time for you to really take a good look at this bond, this connection, to determine, is this what I want? And, we ask the question, okay, I can break free from so many things. I can quit so many things, but why is it so hard for me to leave a trauma bond? And I have an answer for you. Because your brain is fighting against you. You may logically know that this relationship is toxic. Most of the time when we're in a trauma bond, we know this relationship is toxic as hell. But our nervous system craves what feels familiar. And so oftentimes leaving feels impossible. We have a fear of losing the good times. So we hold on to the memories and the sweet moments, convincing ourselves that it wasn't all bad. It wasn't always bad, right? You tell yourself they're not always like this. Maybe I'm the one overreacting. We begin to experience guilt and shame. The person may have manipulated you into believing that the problems are all your fault. You may feel responsible for fixing them, and now all of a sudden the burden of this relationship is on you. You feel like you have to make that relationship work. Then we begin to feel the addiction to the highs and the lows. It's something that we start to crave, right? We tell ourselves this is normal. Your body gets used to the adrenaline rush that you experience when you're on this emotional roller coaster. The cycle of pain and relief keeps you hooked, just like an addiction. You're going to begin to notice the isolation, right? Toxic partners often isolate themselves from friends and family. So now that you're in this trauma bond, you started to separate yourself from your friends and your family. And then now, because you've isolated yourself without that outside support, they become your only source of comfort, even when they're the primary cause of your pain. You've got no one else to run to turn to, no more help for you, simply because you've isolated everyone else. But hope is the weapon that is keeping you stuck, right? You hope for change. You keep believing that they're going to change, that they're finally going to change. Every time they apologize or show kindness to you, it reinforces your hope. Elevate with Vern. Welcome in, love. And so we need to talk about how to break free, right? How to break free from trauma bonding. You know, escaping escaping a trauma bond isn't just about walking away. Okay? It's about rewiring your brain and unlearning patterns and rediscovering your sense of self. Because the real work begins after you leave. A trauma bond creates a false sense of connection, and breaking it means that you are learning to separate love from survival. Healing doesn't happen overnight. This bond that you formed, it took longer than overnight to form. So we have to understand that healing doesn't happen overnight. But step by step, you can start to reclaim your power, and here's how. The first thing that you need to do is name it for what it is. Name it for what it is. It is a cycle, not love. Denial keeps that trauma bond alive. And many people stay stuck because they tell themselves, but I love them. If I leave, I'll regret it. They're not always that bad. Or maybe I'm the problem. We have to stop. We have to stop saying that to ourselves. We have to stop denying and call it what it is. Before anything else, you have to name what is happening. And you've got to say it out loud. This isn't love. This is a trauma bond. It is a cycle of pain and false hope. And I deserve more. Love should not make me feel anxious, afraid, or unworthy. I am not crazy, dramatic, or too sensitive. My pain is real, and I am allowed to walk away. And I want you to write these affirmations in your journals. I want you to look in the mirror, and I want you to say them. I want you to repeat them whenever you feel doubt creeping in. This isn't love. It is a trauma bond. It is a cycle of pain and false hope, and I deserve more. Love should not make me feel anxious, afraid, or unworthy. I am not crazy, dramatic, or too sensitive. My pain is real, and I am allowed to walk away. Step two, we have to begin to detach from false hope and stop romanticizing the past. One of the hardest parts of breaking a trauma bond is letting go of the fantasy of who they could be, what this could be. A trauma bond makes you cling to the good moments, convincing yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, that the person that they were in the beginning will come back. But here's the truth. That person never really existed. That was simply their representative. The sweet moments were a part of the cycle, okay? Not a real sign of change. If love is only good sometimes, it's not love, it's a pattern. So, one of the steps that you could take in this is to write down a list of the most painful moments in your relationship and keep this list somewhere visible. And then that way, when you feel tempted to reach out, you refer to this list. You go back and you read this list. Remind yourself why you're leaving. Number three, you must begin to set boundaries for yourself. And honestly, I encourage you to go no contact if possible. Okay. I want you to block their number, unfollow them on social media, and I want you to remove the reminders that keep you attached to them. If no contact isn't an option, such as like co parenting or work, things like that, I want you to begin to set firm emotional boundaries. Keep the conversations brief, neutral, and focus on the things that are necessary, right? So again, if you're co-parenting, let's keep these conversations about the children. We don't need to reminisce about the past, right? If it's work, hey, let's stay focused on the job. Don't worry about nothing else. Keep the conversations brief and neutral. Hey, bruh, your action step on this stage, delete their number if you can, block or mute them on social media, begin to remove old photos and messages that make you nostalgic, right? And remind yourself that boundaries are not mean. They're not mean. They're necessary for your healing. Number four, seek support. Remember, we've isolated ourselves. So now we must begin to seek out support. You can't heal alone. Breaking free is hard. Trauma bonds are isolating, and oftentimes the person has made you feel like they're the only one who truly understands you. That's why you need to begin to build a strong support system. You need to find a trauma informed therapist or life coach that can help you start to untangle the emotional knots and begin to rebuild a sense of self. Join a support group because sometimes hearing others share their experiences helps you to realize that you're not alone. Tell a trusted friend. Even one safe person can make a huge difference in your journey to healing. The action step for this would be to start with researching therapists or life coaches who specialize in trauma healing. You can, like I said, you can join online support groups where you have other survivors of toxic relationships. I encourage you to find a mentor, a spiritual leader, or a trusted friend that you can confide in because healing happens in a community. So don't feel like you have to do this alone. You've got to begin to rebuild your identity, which is step five. You've got to learn who you are without them. See, trauma bonds strip away your identity. And over time, you start basing your worth on what they think of you, what they want from you, how they feel about you. So when the relationship ends, all of a sudden you may feel lost, right? So now is the time for you to rediscover yourself. Ask yourself, what are my interests outside of this person? What makes me truly happy? Who am I? And, who am I when I'm not trying to prove my worth to someone else? Hey, Coco. Thank you, K Rose. And thank you for the follow, friend. You can start journaling, start meditating, and start exploring new hobbies, right? Start tapping into things that bring you joy. Maybe try painting, go hiking, dancing, or honestly, just learn a new skill, something that you've never done before. Anything that helps you reconnect with you. Number six, you've got to begin to learn what healthy love looks like. One of the most dangerous effects of trauma bonding is that it warps your definition of love. You start believing that love is supposed to be hard, right? That if someone really cares about you, that they're going to test you, that they're going to hurt you, they're going to push you away just to see if you stay. You'll believe that real love means fighting through the pain, proving yourself, and holding on no matter what. That's not love. Healthy love feels safe, stable, and secure. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't make you walk on eggshells. It doesn't break you down just to build you back up. I encourage you to start educating yourself on healthy relationships. This starts with, reading books that are about the secure attachment, right? So find books about secure attachment and self-worth. Listen to podcasts or follow experts on trauma healing. Pay attention to how safe you feel when you're in relationships because you deserve a love that doesn't make you question your worth. Number 7, I want you to allow yourself to grieve because this is a loss that you are going through. I want you to allow yourself to grieve, but I want you to keep moving forward. Healing from a trauma bond is a grieving process. You're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of a dream, a hope, a version of love that you wanted so badly to be real. And so it's okay to mourn that, but don't let grief pull you back into that cycle. Feel your emotions, but don't allow them to control your actions. When you feel grief pulling you back, I want you to say this out loud. I am allowed to miss them, but I am not meant to return to them. I am allowed to miss them, but I am not meant to return to them. Missing them is not a sign that I should go back. It is a sign that I need to heal. My future is more important than my past. And then you move to step 8, which is where you begin to create a new vision for your future. The best way to truly break free is to focus on what's ahead of you. Imagine your life without pain, without the uncertainty, without the anxiety. Imagine waking up without waiting for a text that determines your mood for the day. Imagine being in a relationship where love feels peaceful, not exhausting, and know that that future is possible for you. You don't just break free, you build something new. I encourage you to create a vision board or write down your ideal future relationship. Ask yourself, what does healthy love look like to you? What kind of peace do you want to feel? You guys, I want you to remember that trauma bonds don't just go away overnight. But with awareness, action, self love, you can break free. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are simply breaking the chains from your past. You are stepping into love that does not hurt. Now, if this episode helped you, I want you to take a deep breath and repeat after me. I am worthy of safe, consistent love. I am worthy of safe, consistent love. I do not have to suffer to be loved. I do not have to suffer to be loved. I am healing and I am free. I am healing and I am free. Now, if you are ready to start your healing journey, I encourage you to reach out. I'm here to remind you that you are not alone. I am here to help you, from the sidelines, rooting for you, reminding you to breathe, to heal, and to choose you. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to take this moment to say thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed our time together today, be sure to give us a follow, subscribe to our channel, so that way you never miss out on our latest content. And don't forget to head over to our website at theselfcareclub.org. We've got some awesome affirmative apparel, motivational merch, and a bunch of free resources designed just for you. Whether you're looking to elevate your self care game or you just need a little extra inspiration to help you get through the day, know that we've got you covered. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the Self Care Club community, and I am so excited to connect with you again soon. But until next time, I encourage you to keep breathing, stay positive, and remember that you will always be supported here at the Self Care Club. Don't be afraid to take up space and make a little room for you to breathe. I pray that you all have an amazing day on purpose, filled with nothing but purpose. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you. I found my